The color aesthetic white. The company, Sherwin-Williams. This is Hue Review, so let's review. I'm James from The Paint People. This is a channel all about painting, decorating, color, and color theory. And Hue Review is where I try and review every single paint company's paint colors. And today is all about Sherwin-Williams aesthetic white. So I'm going to give you the vibe of this color, what you can expect from it, the versatility aspect, and how usable and flexible it is as a color. And then finally, I'll give you my verdict, how I would use this color, and would I even use it. ThePaintPeople.com is your go-to destination for quality paint and paint supplies. We're more than just a paint store. We are your partner in bringing color to life. Our commitment to fast shipping ensures that your order will reach you promptly so you can start your project without unnecessary waiting. Visit our website today and discover a world of colors, quality, and convenience. And as a thank you for supporting us on YouTube, use coupon code JAMES5 for 5% off your order. So before we dive into aesthetic white, here are some other companies' colors. These are going to be close alternatives to aesthetic white in Valspar, in Behr, in Farrow and Ball, etc. In case your contractor is really against using Sherwin-Williams for some reason, which is not usually the case. These are some other options from other paint companies. Not spot-on matches, but they're kind of close. So let's talk about aesthetic white. What's the vibe of this color? If you clicked on this video, you probably have some interest in using it in your home. What can you expect from it? Well, the first thing is it's not white. It's more like an off-white to me. And that's because of its level of depth. It's not a clean, stark, sterile white that you might find in a can of primer or whatever. This is a color that has a little bit of depth, maybe more than you might expect. And the way we can verify this is by looking at the LRV, or the light reflectance value. And this is just a number from 0 to 100 that tells us the percentage of light that the color reflects. I often describe it as a 0 to 100 lightness score. The higher that number, the closer to 100, the lighter and brighter and ultimately whiter it will appear. So aesthetic white has a 73 LRV, which is pretty light. It's basically in that top quarter of all paint colors, but that's not nearly as high of a number as a white paint color would have, which is maybe in the 90s. What you're dealing with here is a very light neutral paint color. To me, has a base of this sort of gray beige combination, but there is this little bit of earthy taupiness, like a bit of a brown quality that gives it the slightest purple undertone. That might scare some of you off because maybe you're not looking for a light lavender, lilac color. And even if you are, that's okay because aesthetic white doesn't read as a light purple. It's just that violet undertone sort of pulls it away from feeling greeny. It has this just earthy quality to it that I can only describe as being taupey. A very light alternative to a brown gray color. I think in a lot of cases, aesthetic white will just feel like a light neutral, very subtle, soft. That purple undertone really just comes into play if you have other things in your space that might conflict with it. Usually on the green side of things, I feel, or anything in that other direction of neutral that can over accentuate that little bit of violet purple quality. And the only way you can really even know that is if you just test the color out. So I always encourage testing colors, especially with neutrals like this that can kind of go either way. They're very passive colors, but they can be very volatile. So test. So that's the vibe of the color. You got a light neutral, a little bit of that purple quality, very, very subtle. What is the versatility aspect? Is that purple enough to sort of make it not usable in a lot of cases? On the interior side of things, I would put aesthetic white as a low-high versatility. So on the lower end of high, and the reason I say that is it's a neutral. It's passive, it's subtle, it's toned down. It's not going to disturb anyone in negative ways. It has a lovely airy quality to it that makes it feel pretty effortless, I feel. And I think colors that are this light are being used more and more in spaces. I feel a lot of people do like their rooms to feel airy and light. I knock its versatility score down just slightly because of the fact that it is a bit lighter. So if you wanted something with a little more oomph, a little more depth, this color might be a bit too light, especially in those really well-lit parts of your home. It just might fade into the background. And I guess that purple undertone isn't perfect in all situations, so still very versatile, but maybe not like numero uno in versatility. On the exterior side of things, I would put aesthetic white as a mid versatility. The undertones don't really bother me as much when used outside. It's more so the lightness of this color. Honestly, it will look more white when used outside with the big sun as your light source. But because of that, you'll also lose a lot of that nuance that makes it really unique. So an awesome off-white choice to be used outside. It's not going to feel like the same color when used outside compared to inside. I think it's a pretty solid choice as a trim color, as long as it coexists nicely with the main body color. Or as the main color on the home, if you want that slightly grayish off-white look, this could be a good choice. Okay, so what's the verdict? How would I use aesthetic white in my home? Is this a color that I could use all over a space? Is it more of a secondary support color, or maybe even a finishing color? I think aesthetic white would be a great main color. It's not going to be the ultimate main color for a lot of people because of the violet undertone, but I think if it suits the flooring, number one, it's going to be a color that you can continue throughout your home. A little bit lighter than I usually recommend as just a go-to color, but I still think there's enough richness in here where it will feel pretty minimal, but it will be a great canvas color to just sort of put in the background of your home. The neutral aspect does give it a lot of brownie points in that respect. That's how I would use it, but would I? So before I give you my verdict on whether I would use it, what are some other colors that I would pair with it? On the light side of things, I would probably go with pure white, which is an awesome go-to Sherwin-Williams color. That's awesome for these sort of neutrals that are not too cool, not too warm, kind of in the middle. And then on the slightly darker side, I would recommend grayish, which has a 60 LRV. So a lot more depth, more of that earthy, taupey, violet quality. This one is way more on display. If you want an idea of what that actual undertone of aesthetic white looks like, grayish will give you a much better representation of that because it has more colorant in it. So aesthetic white, main color. That's how I would use it. But would I? Yes, I think I would. I think this is a color that I really enjoy. It's kind of a grougey color, bit of a rougey gray beige that I think is pretty interesting. I don't have a color like this in my home at the moment, but I could see myself using it if I wanted to go in that slightly earthier, light neutral direction. So that's a review. If you want to see an aesthetic white color palette pyramid at the end of this week, let me know in the comment section down below. And we got another video right over here.